Hello, and thank you for tuning into our demo about rogue users. My name is Corey Diatoma, and I am an account representative at Leostream. I am being joined today by Karen Gondoli, our CEO and Vice President of Product Development. I will introduce the topic of today's demo, and Karen will explain some benefits before diving into the Leostream administrative interface. If you've watched a previous Leostream video or worked with one of our technical specialists, you've probably heard the term rogue user. A rogue user is any user that is logged onto a machine in your Leostream environment without using the Leostream platform to gain access. We call these users rogue, for they are often the cause for many headaches for IT administrators, as the word rogue might imply. Rogue users, whether intentionally or not, are going around your IT department's best laid plans to control, monitor, and secure access to your hosted resources. Thankfully, Leostream can help you rein in rogue users so you can ensure the security and optimize the usage of your hosted desktops. With that being said, let me pass this off to Karen, who will explain why identifying rogue users can be beneficial to a company's remote access or VDI workflows.
Okay, thanks, Corey. That was fantastic. So, without ado, let's do a little overview on why you might want to use Leostream to control these rogue users, and then we'll show you how you can make rogue users be not so rogue by using the Leostream connection broker and the rest of the platform. So, first, obviously, when users go rogue, that's a concern for security. You always want to know, and you build your access control rules in Leostreams very tightly so that you control who has access to what. Well, if users are going around those access control rules, well, obviously you're losing a little bit of control and you're losing some of the security in your environment. So the nice thing is with Leostream, even authenticated users, they're valid users. They're users who should be getting into your system, and therefore they can log into the operating systems by themselves. But you want to always be able to track what they're doing. You want them to go through the MFA that you've put in place in your Leostream environment. So to ensure security, you want to make sure that even valid users should be blocked from accessing their resources if they don't go through Leostream. Again, that allows you to enforce your MFA policies, gives you the audit level tracking, all those great things that help you keep your environment secure and monitor that it is as secure as you designed it to be. And as I mentioned, really a lot of that is about maintaining control, not just control over who has access to what, but also the control that you get from the pools and the policies and the plans in Leostream that allow you to automate capacity. So powering and power states. So powering machines down after the user is done or terminating it after the user is done. If your users are coming in rogue, they may be powering a machine on, they may be logged into it and then walk away and stay logged into it because nothing's monitoring for the idle time. You lose the control over your environment that Leostream gives you. And when you lose that control, you run the risk of increasing your costs. And some of that goes back to that power state management that I mentioned that you're losing. The last thing, too, is really gaining insight. If rogue users are logging in, there's nothing they're necessarily tracking what they're doing, when they logged in, did they disconnect, and as I mentioned, have they gone idle? If you can take those rogue users and move them into your Leostream environment, then you get all the great audit level tracking that's available inside of Leostream, along with the extra control and security that it gives you. So the key here is kind of this last point. Even if a user is rogue, you want to make sure that Leostream is still the gatekeeper, even if they're not using Leostream as the gate. So they're launching the RDP client, for example, or the TGX client. Even for those users, you want to make sure that Leostream is the gatekeeper. And I can show you a few ways that you can do that now. So to do that, let me switch to my screen. Screen one. Okay, so here you see the Leostream portal, the administrator. I'm going to log in as the main administrator in this case. And here I'm going to just log in, and I'm going to go right over to the system log page. The system log page is where you as the administrator can see everything that's going on in your system. This is what I mentioned, that audit level tracking that is so important for knowing who's using what and from where and when. Well, just so we can kind of keep track of where we are in this demo, I'm going to use this handy set marker feature so I know where things are starting from here. So the first thing I want to do actually now is not do anything with this. I'm going to come over here, and on my desktop I have an RDP file. Now, how a user could get one of these, of a valid Leostream user, there's a few ways, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an RDP file. Any display protocol client that launches via a downloaded file, so Mecdyne TGX, No Machine, there's a handful of others. If your users are using the Leostream web portal, the web portal downloads that file when it goes to launch the user's requested connection to their validly offered desktop. Well, some savvy users like to save those files and then try to use them to reconnect to the machines that they've had before. You can make that be okay by taking that now rogue user who's just double clicking on this file and making them into a valid Leostream user. So let's go ahead and double click. Now, because it is an REP file, there's no password in there, so I do have to type Mabel's password. So now she's logging in directly from launching that RDP connection. So while that's happening in the background there, let's look at what the admin sees. So here, I've got my handy marker so I can look and I see in the Leostream agent notification that she's connected, and she actually got assigned a policy. Because what I did was I said, you know what, I want to grab that user connection and I want to say, no, they're not rogue. And I'll show you how you set this up in the broker in a second. But we've said the user went directly to that RDP file, double clicked it, got connected. The Leostream agent let the broker know that happened and assigned a policy in there. And so here Mabel is peacefully connected. Now, again, this user was when they've tried to connect rogue and now is actually a valid Leostream user. But let's say you don't actually want this to be a valid Leostream user. What you want to say is no one should be able to do that. Well, there's a couple ways that you could do that. One is leveraging the Leostream gateway. So you can essentially lock all your machines in a network that no one can access. And then they have to go through the gateway to get to that machine. Or you can do this. You can set up Leostream release plans so that the user gets a notification that says, hey, and you can customize this however you want, but it basically says, hey, you're not allowed to be on this machine. You're going to get logged out. And even though I said, okay, that was just me acknowledging the fact that, yep, this user is going to get logged out. And in a minute, because that's what I have my policy set to, that RDP session is going to go away. And again, I can see all of that happening here in the log. So I got the rogue user. She got assigned to it because I took that over. Here you can see sending a user a 1-minute warning before a forced log out. And then I'll see over in the job queue that there's a job waiting to execute in a minute to unassign and log that user out. So that'll log out in a few seconds. There it goes. So we did that because that user was rogue. And we said, nope, you're not allowed to be rogue. You have to come in through a Leostream login. So here, now I have Mabel logging in through the Leostream portal. And there's her machine. And now she can peacefully connect to it. And in this case, it is going to go through the gateway. Like I mentioned, this is another way you can kind of restrict rogue users from getting in. If their client can't connect via the network to the remote desktop, then you block them from the get-go. In this case, she did have network access, but I'm using the gateway just to show you the HTML5 connection. So now if I look in the logs, well, now I see Mabel logging in. She gets a different policy because she's coming in through the authentication server like I wanted her to, and now everything is in here, and I can see that she's assigned here to the machine. So all is good in the world. And again, I'll show you how we set that up in the broker in 2 seconds here. So let's just leave that there. So now let's show another example of rogue user and how you can control it. You set a marker. We're done with Mabel there for a bit. Now we're going to put Milo in the hot seat. So Milo here also has downloaded an RDP file, but we're blocking Milo in a different way. And this is specific to RDP. In the case of RDP, if you don't put the user or a group they're a member of into the remote desktop users group, they can't RDP to the machine. And that's actually what's blocking Milo. He's not a member of the RDP group, but he is a member of of a group that has access to Leostream. So now he's going to come in here and log in. In this case, I thought I'd show you Leostream Connect, and he's connecting into that machine. So if we look at the log here, you can actually see it's Mabel logging out and getting unassigned, and then here's Milo logging in, getting off of the machine, and he's actually able to connect to that machine because Leostream in the background, the connection broker told the Leostream agent on the machine to add the user to the RDP group. So now what happens when Milo logs out, he's done with his Leostream offered session. He's going to log out. In the background, the Leostream agent's letting the connection broker know, hey, this user is logging out. And then the connection broker is going to say, oh, okay, well, in that case, what I need to do is tell the Leostream agent to remove that user from the remote desktops users group. They should no longer be assigned to the machine as well. And now again, if he comes in here and tries to double click on that file, we'll block him back out again, even though he was just there. So those are a few different ways that you can really control how do users connect to the machines. From where are they allowed? Do they have to go through Leostream? Or do you want them to maybe be rogue? I could have set my rogue user policy up so that Mabel didn't get kicked out of there. I could have set it up so what it actually did was let her use the machine and then reboot it when she was done, or whatever you wanted. But let's show you how you do that. How do you control the workflow associated with rogue users, or as you saw in some cases, block them entirely? So to show this, let's start up in the setup section and just go to centers. I'm going to jump around a little bit. But a center in Leostream is essentially the different hosting platforms that you use to host your hosted desktops. Number of different types of centers. This particular demo is using the vSphere center. All of the centers have this option in it, assign rogue user to desktop from this center. And when you tick that on, you get to select which policy is associated with rogue users. With this on, essentially any machine, virtual machine, cloud hosted machine, physical machine, if it's an AD center, any machine that has a Leostream agent on it that is reporting desktop logins to your connection broker, you can take those rogue logins and assign them to a policy and then control what happens to that user. So that's how you turn the feature on. And then after that, you have to decide what are you going to do. So from centers then, let's start looking through the configuration. And I'll start just by looking at protocol plans. So in this case, I'm using the default for RDP, but I did mention that you can have a protocol plan that says, you know what, force the connection through the gateway for a particular set of users or people coming in from web browsers, what have you. And that way, if you do have your machines locked away to prevent access, or maybe they're just in a virtual private cloud in the public cloud, that locks them away right there, then users have to go through this protocol plan that you assign to them that goes through a gateway. The power control plan, I mentioned you can have power control plans that shut down and release. So if you do decide to allow rogue user logins and they are connecting to a cloud machine via your gateway, what you can do is shut the machine down after they're done with it so that it's not left running, which if they were rogue and you didn't take over their session, they would log out and that machine's just racking up cloud costs for you. That's never good. So release plans here's where it gets a little interesting. So, I can have release plans that disconnect users on idle, and that's great. If you want rogue users to be able to use machines, you can just allow them to continue using it and then but if they go idle, disconnect them so they can get kicked out of the machine. But for the use case I showed you with Mabel, where she got that warning saying, hey, this isn't allowed. Here I have a plan that's called log out rogue user. And what it does is it basically says, if the user logs out themselves or disconnects, that's all fine and dandy. But here what I did was I said when the desktop is first assigned, So as soon as Mabel double-clicked that RDP file and the Leostream agent sent the connection broker a notice saying Mabel has logged in as rogue, Leostream assigned the machine to the rogue user because my center said, please do that. And that started the timer on here. So basically, Mabel had a minute to look at the screen, and then I released the machine to the pool. And what that does then is triggers the when desktop is a released section of the release plan. These release plans can be very flexible and powerful because one event does trigger the next. And so after a minute, I release the machine to the pool. When it's released, I say, hey, send a little warning to this person. So after another minute, actually, I'm going to log the user out, but I suspended it for a minute. And in that minute, I gave them that warning that you saw. And it was the Leostream agent on the machine that popped up the warning. And that works across all the platforms, so Windows, Linux, Mac. Popped up a warning. Again, here's where I said that's customizable, so you can type in whatever you want here. They can say okay to it. That's fine. It's still going to happen. In a minute, they're going to get forced out. And so this really gives you a way of controlling how long does that user, how long are they allowed to, a rogue user allowed to actually be connected to the machine. Right now, 2 minutes is the smallest amount of time that you can set it to. But if you need other timeframes or have other thoughts, we're always open for hearing ideas and feature requests. So those are my plans. And then what I did is I created a policy. I've got my on-prem valid user policy, and that just offers, this is what Milo got, just offered him one machine from my Windows desktops pool. And then I had the rogue user policy here. And what that did basically is just in this rogue user assignment tag sets the power control and release plans. So now you can control, I can't set a protocol plan. That's how they've connected choosing their own protocol, but I can decide what happens after that connection occurs. And that's control the power state and control how long they can stay connected. So that's why Mabel, when she got logged in, got that plan. So that's kind of the end of Mabel's workflow. Milo, he had a little bit different workflow because, again, we controlled his access by taking him out of the remote desktop users group, which works great for RDP. So then what he got actually was a role in Leostream that adds him to the group. And again, it's all the Leostream agent on the remote desktop that's doing this magic. So here, very simply through his role, I checked this box, add and remove user from the remote desktop users group. So when he requests the connection broker tells the agent to take that action. When the agent says, okay, this user is logged out, Leostream connection broker tells the agent to remove the user. So for Milo, for valid non-rogue users, they are coming in through the authentication server that you've chosen and set up in Leostream, and they end up on the assignments tab. And so here is where you're going to assign those add user to RDP group roles that you saw Milo get logged in as. For rogue users, their policy comes from that one value that you set in the center. Now, every desktop from a center has the same rogue user policy, but you can manage different centers differently. So in VMware, well, I just want to kick the rogue user out, make sure that machine is saved for Leostream users. In the cloud, again, probably what you want to do is power the machine off or terminate it because you want to make sure you're not racking up the cloud costs. So the last thing I wanted to show, over on the log page, we saw everything that was going on as we were running through this demo, and there's a lot of information in there, but you do have really handy ways for sorting and sifting through this information. So if I want to see, well, how actively are rogue users logging in? I can look at all these different events that are categorized in Leostream, and I can look at desktop assign rogue. And then I get an idea for, okay, who are the culprits who are logging in rogue? When are they accessing it? Should I go talk to them and say, don't click that file, log back in through Leostream because that's where we have MFA set up. So again, the log page, not just useful for showing daily occurrences of things going on, but really great for just seeing, when are people logging in general, what's going on in my system over time. So with that, I will go ahead and hand you back to Corey to kind of wrap us up.
Thank you, Karen. If you are an enterprise IT administrator, value-added reseller, or systems integrator interested in performing a proof of concept of the Leostream platform To see how you can rein in your rogue users, please contact sales@leostream.com. Thank you again for tuning into our demo on rogue users.